Okay, so in this week's guitar lesson, we're going to talk about Mixolydian Scale, what it is, how you can use it when you're jamming and when you're improvising, and why it's one of the best scales for doing that. And it's just a lot of fun. I'm going to give you an easy way to think about this scale. And we're also going to talk about how to use your fingers on your left hand to do a dance. And when you can do this finger dance, you can quickly play through any scale, not just Mixolydian, but any of the scales. If you ever watch a guitar player just kind of buzz up and down the fretboard and you wonder, like, how the heck are they doing that? I'm going to give you at least my thoughts for it, at least my thoughts for what's going on. I've never heard anybody really articulate this point, but this is one of those things that I've just picked up through the years, and I think this will give you some comfort and let you know that you can do this. This is not that difficult. I've got this lesson split into two parts. In this video, we're going to break down everything that I talked about in the intro. Actually, we're going to break down the first half of that, talk about the finger dancing stuff. If you'd like to join us for part 2 video where we talk about the second half of the intro, you can download the tablature, you can download the MP3 jam tracks, which have in multiple tempos. You get all of those extras for this lesson so that you can practice playing everything we're going to talk about. You can get those things by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP589. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some stuff up front, Mixolydian Scale, going to talk a little bit about modes, we're going to talk about finger dancing. If you want to skip past all this boring talk at the beginning and go right to memorizing stuff, you can do that by skipping ahead to the time on the screen. But I'm going to assume that most of you are going to be interested in this. This is the cool stuff. And so when I first started learning how to improvise, I would watch other guitar players on TV or in person, anywhere that I saw it happening, and I was always mesmerized by the fact that they could do that so effortlessly. It didn't matter what style of music, but I would see somebody just kind of going up and down the fretboard, and it's like, man, have they memorized where all the notes are? I knew they were making it up, sort of improvising. You can kind of tell the difference, but like, how are you doing that? You know, it just seemed magical to me. And I just assumed that everybody that could do that was some kind of a savant. You know, it's like a bunch of Rain Mans out there. They're just able to do it. And I thought maybe I just don't have that because I could not figure that out. And so I bought a book on chords and scales. It's like this thick, you know, and it started with G. I remember it was like started with chords. So it was like, oh, here's a G chord. And then here's a G major 7, and here's a G dominant 7, and here's a G6, and here's a G9, and here's a G6-9, and all these versions. And I'm flipping page after page of all these chord extensions, and we're still on G. And it's like, oh my gosh, am I supposed to sit and memorize all of this? And then you get to scales, and it's even worse, or well, it's just as bad. I mean, there's a scale for everything. There's all kinds of scales. I can't even pronounce half of them. And it's like, well, okay, even if I memorized all these, how do I use them? And so it's very frustrating. So these books are really kind of, just think of them as reference manuals. That is not the way to learn to play guitar, is to get a book on chords and scales. You're just wasting your time. It's like getting a dictionary and trying to learn to speak the language of, you know, whatever language you're trying to speak. It's just a reference manual. That's all that is. And so nobody ever explained to me that there's this thing that happens with guitar. It happens, I guess, on every instrument, but especially on a fretted instrument, where when you learn the major scale, it's all really just that one scale in a way. I'm going to make this very simple. When it comes to playing Mixolydian Scale, which we're going to do in this, or if you want to play the natural minor scale, or you want to get into Dorian mode, it's one thing to learn. It's not like, even though there's 7 modes, it's not 7 things to learn. There's 7 sounds to learn, but your fingers, the dance your fingers do, it's one thing. And when I realized that, and the same is true with the pentatonic scales, whether you're playing major or minor pentatonic scale, your fingers are doing the same dance. You just have to know kind of where to start them. So now it's not necessarily a this thing, it's a this thing. So you have to kind of know what goes with what. And actually, no, it's not even a this thing, it's a this thing. It all goes back to your ear. So all of these labels and stuff, it doesn't matter. Your ear is what's the ultimate judge in the end for if it's right or wrong. So anytime somebody emails me like, can I do this? It's like, well, I don't know, what does your ear tell you? Try it. Does your ear tell you can? If you can, then, or if it does, then you can. So back to the major scale. So the major scale is the key to the whole thing. And what I mean by that is, so we're going to be talking about Mixolydian in this, which is we got a jam track that goes like this. 2 chords, an A and a G. And I'm going to be playing. Now notice I'm quickly buzzing through that scale. That's Mixolydian scale. How was I able to do that? This was the part that confused me. So, what is Mixolydian scale? It's just your major scale, right? Do, re, mi, but you flat the 7th note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Flat that 7th. That's all Mixolydian is, right? Seems simple enough. Now try to use that. This is the part that would throw me. I got that part, but when it came to using it, no. You know, it's like, am I constantly adjusting for that flat 7 every time? And how are people able to buzz through the fretboard, right? And do that so quickly? It's because, as far as my fingers are concerned, it's just a dance of the major scale. So you can think of the major scale dance with your fingers. It's like the cha-cha-cha or the, I don't know, a salsa or something. It's just a little dance. They know kind of what to do. And there's 5 different positions. This is going to connect it back to the cage system. This is how I think of it anyway. I compartmentalize this stuff. But if I'm playing the A major scale in this E position, not A Mixolydian, but A major, I've got 2 octaves of it right here. Now if I go up to the D position, I've got, right? I've got it here. I can go to the next one, which is my C shape. And I can keep going up the fretboard for each of the 5 positions. Now I'll put a lesson up on the screen that goes into detail on how to do this very thing. If you're interested in what I'm talking about, I think it was the G chord for that lesson, but I show you how to play it in all 5 positions. I even give you a little practice song to be able to practice playing it to make it kind of fun. So the question is, where am I going with this? Well, let me just loop through the chords of this. We have an A to a G, right? I've got it on my looper here. I'm going to loop those 2 chords, and I'm going to start by playing the A major scale. That first chord is an A chord. Seems like a safe place to start, right? So listen to that. That note does not work, that 7th note. But if I flat the 7, it works perfectly. So A Mixolydian scale is the scale to use here. So now how did I know to use Mixolydian? I used my ear for that. And it's not like I sat and studied it, or I got out a book, or I even gave it a whole lot of thought. I knew that the chord was an A, so I started with this E shape. That's kind of my go-to starting chord shape anyway. Walked up the major scale, and then I could just tell, even before I played that note, that I needed to flat that 7. But I'm still not addressing the big question, which is, how do my fingers know how to quickly go through that? And it's because these notes, forget what the notes are, the chords or anything. This little dance is the major scale. Wait a minute, you said it was Mixolydian. It is Mixolydian for A. But what I'm doing, if I take the jam track out of it, I'm actually playing a D major scale. So check this out. Those notes that I just played are the exact same notes that I was playing for A Mixolydian. If I come all the way down and land on the A note out of that D major scale, then now it's coloring the sound in a different way. This is the hardest part of this whole mode thing. But you don't have to worry so much about it other than to think about it this way. This is the easy way to think about it. Just learn your major scale. That's it. Just get your major scale down and be able to play it in all 5 of the positions of the cage system. So I'll put that lesson up again if you want to refer back to it. But that would be a great reference for this, for being able to do that very thing. And once you can do that, your fingers then are familiar with their dance. They've got their dance move. So then it isn't weird for them to quickly buzz up and down the fretboard. They don't care what the chord is underneath them. They're doing their dance. And so nobody's ever said this. I never see another guitar player online talking about this point. Nobody's ever said, but this is what it is. That's why they're able to do that. It's not like they're sitting and they're quickly processing, going through their Rolodex of chords and what notes go with. It doesn't work like that. Their fingers have just memorized the moves and they know how to do that. So remember, the notes we're playing here are a Mixolydian scale. And remember, I said those are the same notes as your D major scale. A chord is the 5 chord when you're playing in the key of D. So if you're playing like a blues or a 1-4-5 in the key of D, your chords would be D, G as your 4 chord, A as your 5 chord. So that may be another way to help you think about what's going on when it comes to Mixolydian. You can ask yourself, what chord, like if I needed to play a G Mixolydian, for example, right? Which I know how to do. But I could ask myself, if I wasn't sure what that is and I wanted to quickly be able to do the dance, I could say, well, what is G the 5 of? That's the question. What is this the 5 of? What is my G chord the 5 of? Well, oh yeah, it's the 5 of a C, right? In the key of C. C is a 1, F is the 4, G is the 5. So what that means is, if I play my C major scale, I'm playing the same notes as my G Mixolydian scale. That's a confusing point to some. Some people would rather just say flat the 7. But the truth is, whether you flat the 7th or you're playing that major scale version of it, your fingers know the dance. They know what to do, and you just have to rely on that. And the best way to do that is to practice playing your major scale in all 5 positions. Then when you find that you come to a song like this that has Mixolydian in it, or has Dorian in it, or has Lydian in it, or has the natural minor in it, the same dance, they do the same dance, right? So when you get that concept, it's not like learning a million things, you're learning kind of one thing. The last little point I'll make, which is unrelated to the major scale, is the same is kind of true of your minor and major pentatonic scale, right? So your major pentatonic scale is the same as your major scale that we just looked at, but you take 2 of the notes out of it. And so now you're left with 5 notes instead of 7. And so you could take that same shape, though, of your major pentatonic scale, and you could play that up, you can move that up 3 frets to get the minor pentatonic. Same little dance, though. You see the dance part that I'm talking about? Right? So you have to teach your fingers how to dance. All right, let's start breaking down this song. Now, as I mentioned, this song, it really just goes from an A chord to a G chord, at least for this first half. So it starts off with an A to a G, and I'm using the E shape, and I'm actually not playing a full bar. I'm just playing it like this, sort of like an F chord in first position. I like to play it, my E shape, this way sometimes. And what I'm doing is I'm doing a little hammer on there with my middle finger. And then I came down, I gave a little bit of tremolo with this guitar. If you've got one of these, a whammy bar, you can do that. Otherwise, you don't have to worry about it. So it starts off with, and then it goes, the second time I played the A with a quick upburst on strings 1 and 2. And I played it like this. Back to the G, and then I slid my hand back to that 7th fret 4th string, and I hit that 3 times. And then watch this. So what I'm doing for this, off of this A note here, I'm going to slide in. I've got a little harmonized third here. And this is just strings 2 and 3 out of your E shape. So it's right out of that A chord using the E shape. But I'm going to start with my middle finger on the 5th fret 3rd string, index finger on the 4th fret 2nd string, and I slide up 1 fret. You can see where that's going, right into that E shape. We haven't done anything clever yet, right? And then back to that A note there, 7th fret 4th string, and then I came down to the flat 7. So now we're getting into that Mixolydian vibe. So that would be the 5th fret 4th string. And then one more time through the A and G chord like this. And now we're going to jump right into our Mixolydian scale out of this E shape here. So I started on the 2nd string, 5th fret, up to the 7th fret, and then we're going to do a half bend. Not a full bend because we're going to this note, right? And these notes, by the way, I'm bending to that flat 7. And then back to the 5th fret, 2nd string. Now watch this. So I'll put that up on the screen. I'm not going to call out each note, but I can tell you I'm playing up and down the Mixolydian scale in this position. And then from here, I'm going to use my ring finger to bar on that 7th fret, string 3 and 2. Right? I came back to this 5th fret 4th string with my middle finger, which was the flat 7, but I also put my index finger down on the 4th fret 3rd string and played those 2 notes. And that's a harmonized 3rd out of my G chord using the E shape, right? Because at that point in the song, the jam track is over the G chord. Right? So it goes down to the G, and then I slid it up. Right? It's the same as my A to a G, but we're just playing 2 notes. I hope a light bulb goes off for somebody. You go, oh yeah, it's just, the chords are just A, G. So I don't have to play the full chord. I can just play. You can play any of the 2 notes out of those, right? And get it like a nice little harmony. All right, so the jam track just stays on that A to a G, and now I'm just going to start working my way up the fretboard. So we started in this E shape. Now I'm going to come up into this D shape area, which would be here, and I play this. So let's look at that. So it starts with this stair step shape. So that should be a little clue. We've talked about this before, right? 9th fret 3rd string, 8th fret 2nd string, 7th fret 1st string. So when I play that over the A, I get a different sound. Like if I played that, first of all, anytime I say stair step, that should mean minor, right? Oh yeah, that would be a minor. In fact, that'd be an E minor, right? But if I play that over an A, put an A in the bass, I get a totally different sound. What I'm playing there is an A9. And I'll put a lesson up from just a few weeks ago where we go over this and I talk about the 6 chords and 9 chords and how you can use these minor triads. So you can refresh that if you would like to do that. So that's what I played, was an A9. Kind of a Chet Atkins little tremolo effect. And then I went with my pinky, while that's ringing out, my pinky comes up to the 10th fret 1st string. And then it comes down to the 9th fret, and it makes this little shape. Now when I'm playing that, when there's an A in the bass, I'm playing an A7. That's an A7 triad. Right? So that's just another little voicing. It's the same as, think of your D7 in first position when you learn a D7 chord. It's that same little idea, but we're doing it for an A now. So there's the A9. Now after that I went. So this little run here is A Mixolydian. I'm still playing the Mixolydian scale. Now I'm playing it out of my D position. Remember before we were doing it out of the E shape. Now we've moved up, playing the same scale. I'm just walking down the scale. I'm not doing anything clever. Right? And then from here, this 9th fret 4th string, I'm going to go back up to the 6th fret 3rd string and play 6, 7, back to 6, and then back to that 9th fret 4th string. So after that Mixolydian little run there, I landed on this, and we've already played this. It's strings 4 and 3 out of my A chord using the E shape. I'm just using these two fingers, right? So, and I slid that down 2 frets, just like we did before. A to the G. You can see they're coming out of the E shape. Now after that, I came up and played the A and G again, but I played it up here. Look at that. So I just continue, like I said, I'm continuing to work my way up. So I played the A and G, and then I came up and played it like this. And so when I'm playing it up here, I'm playing my A chord using the C shape, right? And then I can slide that down 2 frets, and that's my G chord. Now I didn't play all 4 strings there in the middle. I really just played these. So this is a lot easier. You just bar in one place. This is the way I do it. I bar on the 9th fret, middle finger goes down on the 10th fret 2nd string, ring finger on the 11th fret 4th string, and I play strings 4, 3, and 2. And I like this because I can hammer it on. And I get a lot of use out of that. So, but it comes out of that C shape. Now we're continuing to work our way up, and I play this. I love this lick. So it starts on the 12th fret 1st string, and by the way, we're up here in this C shape, right? And the notes that I'm going to be playing here are really like my A arpeggio out of this position. Right? So here's a little connection that I want you to make. So here's your C shape, right? And when I make that, I've got my pinky on the 12th fret and I've got my bar here on the 9th fret. So think of that 12th fret to the 9th fret. That's like your little range there. So I can come up to the 1st string and play that 12th fret. And watch this. We're going to do all of this on the 1st string here. So it's 12, 11, 10, and then we go down to 8. And slide up to 9. And then back to 12, and then back to 9. And then watch from here, we're gonna go. I'm gonna walk down the stair step shape. 9, 10th fret 2nd string, 11th fret 3rd string, 9th fret 3rd string. So. Now, this little stair step shape comes in because I think of this as my A6. Okay, so in my head, off of the C shape, let's go back to the shape. Always connect it back to something. So here's my A chord using the C shape. If I look at the top part of that, I've got that little D triad. Now if I change the fingerings, so I keep those 2 notes, but I put one here, I'm playing what would be, with an A in the bass, an A6. Remember, we talked about the A9 just a minute ago. Oh yeah, A6 to the 9. So anyway, I see in that lick, I see that A6 triad. But you can see where it lives inside of that C shape. And now after that, I went like this. So that's 10th fret, 9th fret, 8th fret on the 2nd string. And I walked that down from my A note down to the flat 7. That's the flat 7, right? And then we play this lick. I love this lick. First of all, it starts chromatically from the 7th fret 2nd string. This is the first few notes are on the 2nd string. We go 7, 8, 9, 10. And then a slide back into that 7th fret, and then the 7th fret 3rd string. So it goes to the 9th fret 3rd string. Now this little chromatic walk up is very, very useful. Here's how I want you to connect this. This will blow your mind. Another light bulb moment here, okay? So you've got, we're playing over the A chord, right? So here's my A chord using the D shape. In fact, here's my A major pentatonic scale. That'd be pattern 3. You can connect that to your D shape. Now, where I'm playing this on that second string, I can connect that chromatically. Always. And the same thing when I came down to the third string, I've got another gap between these two notes. I can play these notes chromatically. So watch this. If I go, that's a really powerful, it doesn't seem like much, but I use this all the time. So if I'm going from this A up to this A in this position, in the D shape, I can go like, I can do all kinds of variations with those chromatic notes. So anyway, play around with that idea. Okay, so we have, now from here I went, so it's just a slide down from the 7th fret, 3rd string, down to the 6th fret, and then the 9th fret, 4th string. And when I played that note, I went ahead and put my fingers in place to play the G chord using that C shape. Because that's where the song is, we're at the G point. And now we go back, and I play the A, and then down to the G. So it's like this. G, A, G. Okay, so we're going to end this part 1 video here. Come join us for part 2, where we'll go over the second half. That's where the song goes in a major direction, but we stay in the same scale. Our fingers are going to keep doing the same dance. We're going to get a whole different outcome. It's a very cool effect. You can go back and check the intro again and see what I'm talking about. So anyway, we're going to do that for part 2. And also remember, as a premium member, you would have access to that video, and then you would have access to the tablature, the MP3 jam track, the on-screen tab viewer, all of those extra materials. It can really help you learn this, how to play this stuff. All these lessons are designed with one goal, and that is to get you improvising and really understanding how to do it, and to take the confusion out of it, and take the overwhelm out of it, because it can be overwhelming, but you can do this stuff. It's really not that difficult if you just break it down into something doable and bite-sized. All right, we'll see you in part 2.